Hey there, this is Erica from Ever Educating, and this channel is teaching tips, tools, ideas, and resources for new college instructors. Today I want to talk about using the announcements tool in your LMS. So as far as I know, every LMS has this option where you can post announcements to your class. And it's something that I use very rarely, but I think it can be really great if you're teaching an online course specifically to have a lot of announcements so that students feel your presence throughout the whole semester. Because if they're not there with you in person, it might be harder for them to feel connected to you, to feel comfortable asking you questions or emailing you, going to your office hours. And so if you can up your presence in the classroom, potentially that will become easier for them. And so I have a few ideas of how you can use this announcements tool. So the first way is one I use all the time, if necessary, in my face-to-face courses, and that's for unexpected changes in the course. So if a class had to be canceled because I was going to be sick or at a conference unexpectedly, if a deadline was being moved back for some reason, if an assignment that we had planned and we had discussed was going to be different in the next class period, if just something changed that I wanted to know as soon as possible, I would post it in announcements. So hopefully they'd get an email notification about this and they would see, oh, okay, class is canceled, right? I would email it too, just in case, but a lot of students use the app of their LMS. And if they do so, they'll probably get announcements quicker than they would get an email. So that's one way of using it, just for unexpected changes. Another approach is to use it to provide information for the upcoming week. So maybe on the Friday before, you'll have announcements saying, hey, here's what we have to look forward to next week. We're going to be talking about this topic. We're going to be doing this small group activity. We're going to be watching this video. This assignment is due on Thursday by noon. Remember that. I'm going to host a special office hours on this day and time. So just kind of give a sense of like, hey, this is what's coming up. So you have a preview of the week. Maybe you might have something along the lines of like, hey, the upcoming week is a particular busy one because you're doing these 3 things rather than these 2 usual things. Or hey, next week is when we're doing the review for the exam. Make sure you prep this before that day occurs. So you give them a little bit insight of what they can expect the following week. So that can be a way of getting your presence, again, higher in the classroom. Potentially, you're having students turn in assignments where the feedback that you give individual students could help the rest of the students if they had seen it or had heard it. And so the announcements can be good for this as well, giving general feedback. So you might have, hey, you all turned in this assignment on last Thursday. I've read through all of them. Great job on doing this and doing that. I noticed some people were confused about this and that. Let me explain it in more detail. If you need help with this element, which seemed to be the most confusing, I recommend this resource. So just giving a general, like, hey, everybody, benefit from this feedback that was also given individually, but not everybody saw it again or had access to it because it was turned in individually to you. So this could be a way, again, of helping out all your students at once. Another option I think could be really interesting is to help students see how relevant your course is in the world around them. So potentially you might have, hey, I'm going to be doing News Monday, where I post an announcement with how our class has been relevant recently in the news. So there was this situation that happened that connects to this theory we read last week, or there's this library event happening in town that connects to this reading we did, or we learned about this process and that process is now being used by this major company and they're talking about how amazing it is. So just giving them a sense of like, hey, this class connects to the world around us. And you could potentially have also a discussion forum in your course that's optional where they can post relevant events as well. And they could have like just discussions about how the course is relevant in the life around them. So that can be another option as well, just posting some news that you see in relation to the course. And while the hope is that your students have been reading these announcements the whole time, no matter what they're about, maybe it could be helpful to do helpful hints announcements at random so that students have a reason to actually read these announcements in the hope that potentially it's a hint for something that's coming up. So you might have, oh, hey, you have this major project due, and I actually found this library database article that gives a wonderful account of how this topic has been used in this country. Even though it's not an article you can use for your paper, it shows you this thing, right? Or, you're having this exam coming up, hint, make sure you study this chapter really closely. or hint, these 3 topics will be included in the exam, right? So giving them reasons to read these announcements because they're going to be helpful going forward. Or maybe in a similar vein, you might have, hey, pop extra credit. Do this within the next week and you can get a couple points on your exam. And so that's a real way to get students opening those announcements because you never know what you're going to get, right? Maybe the subject will say something, but it could potentially have this effect of, yes, I want to check these consistently. I want to make sure I'm reading all of her or his or their announcements because I want to make sure I don't miss anything important. So miss unexpected changes, hopefully that'd be a reason to look too. Because I really want feedback to do better on assignments, you can hope for that as well. But potentially the helpful hints, the extra credit opportunities will give them that extra push if they're kind of like, whatever, it's an announcement, I'll read it later. Maybe they want to read it immediately in case it's something really good that they need to do before the next class period. So these are ways of having your presence be more evident in an online course. They can also be helpful for using if you're teaching face-to-face as well. So hopefully you found these helpful. If you did, let me know by clicking like below and subscribe if you don't want to miss out on future content. I'll see you next time.